Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind for a while now. Something so profound, yet simple, something that I think each one of us has experienced in our own lives at some point. We cannot force people to choose us. The world today is filled with expectations. Expectations to meet a certain standard. Expectations of love, friendship, success, and even the way we carry ourselves in front of others. And sometimes we feel the urge to convince people that we are worthy of their time, their energy, their attention, their love. We find ourselves in relationships, whether personal or professional, pushing and pulling, doing everything we can to make people see us, acknowledge us, or even just stay with us. But the truth is, no matter how much we try, no matter how many signs we give or how many favors we offer, some people simply won't choose us. And that's okay. The thing is, the act of forcing someone to choose us isn't love, it's attachment. Love is free, it's unconditional, and it cannot be bound by chains of persuasion or desperation. You can't force someone to value you, to choose you, or to prioritize you. Because in the end, true connection can only come when people choose us willingly with their hearts, not out of obligation. It can be a hard pill to swallow when you pour your soul into a relationship, be it a friendship, a family bond, or a romantic connection, and it feels like your efforts are invisible. You feel rejected. You feel insignificant. But here's what I've learned: rejection isn't a reflection of your worth. It's just a sign that the people you are investing in may not be the ones who are meant to walk with you on this journey. Sometimes the hardest part is letting go. Letting go of the people who don't see your value. Letting go of the situations that drain your energy. Letting go of what you think you need in order to make space for what you truly deserve. You are enough, just as you are. Your worth isn't determined by the number of people who choose you, or by the ones who walk away. Your worth is defined by how you choose yourself. And when you choose yourself, when you truly love and respect who you are, flaws and all, that's when you attract the right people. People who will love you not because they are forced to, but because they genuinely see you. People who will walk alongside you, hand in hand, supporting and uplifting each other. But here's the most powerful realization sometimes. The most important person who needs to choose you is you. We cannot force people to choose us, but we can choose ourselves every single day. We can choose to be our own biggest supporters, our own cheerleaders. We can choose to value ourselves even when others don't see our worth. We can choose peace over chaos, happiness over bitterness, and love over fear. In the end, the right people will come into our lives not because we chase them, but because we stop chasing them. We stopped trying to prove our worth. We started living as our authentic selves. And in doing so, we attracted those who resonate with our energy, our truth. So let us release the need to be chosen by everyone and instead focus on choosing ourselves. Because when we do, we become magnets for the love and respect that we deserve. Self-worth is often something we seek externally. We search for validation in the approval of others, in the praise of our achievements, and in the recognition we get from the world. It's easy to fall into the trap of defining who we are by the way others see us. We place our self-esteem in the hands of others, waiting for them to validate our worth, to confirm that we matter. But the reality is, this approach leads to a never-ending cycle of disappointment, insecurity, and self-doubt. When we depend on others to define our worth, we become vulnerable to their judgments, moods, and opinions. Their views of us change based on their own perspectives, experiences, and emotions, and as a result, our sense of self becomes a roller coaster, constantly shifting with the winds of external validation. One moment we may feel on top of the world, and the next we may feel worthless, all because of how someone else perceives us in a given moment. The problem with this is that it gives away the power to define who we are. We surrender the ability to determine our own value and hand it over to the unpredictable forces of the outside world. Our sense of self becomes tied to circumstances and people over which we have little control. When we live this way, we live for others, seeking their approval, constantly striving to meet their expectations, never quite sure if we are enough. This kind of external validation is fleeting. One day it's there, the next it's gone, leaving us feeling hollow and unworthy when it disappears. True self-worth, on the other hand, doesn't depend on anyone else. It doesn't fluctuate based on how others treat us or what they think of us. Self-worth is an internal belief in who we are, regardless of external factors. It's rooted in an understanding of our own intrinsic value, a recognition that we are worthy of love, respect, and happiness simply because we exist. This kind of self-worth is stable, solid, and resilient. It doesn't crumble when someone disagrees with us, when we make a mistake, or when we face failure. It remains intact because it is not conditional upon anything outside of ourselves. Building self-worth from within requires a shift in mindset. It involves recognizing that we are not defined by our successes or failures, by our appearance, or by the approval of others. We are defined by the way we treat ourselves, by the kindness we show ourselves in moments of struggle, and by our ability to accept ourselves, flaws and all. It means embracing who we are, even when we fall short of our own expectations, and forgiving ourselves when we make mistakes. It's about giving ourselves permission to be human, to make errors, and to still know that we are enough just as we are. This shift in thinking isn't always easy. In a world that constantly tells us how we should look, what we should do, and who we should be, it's difficult to resist the pressure to conform. We are bombarded with messages telling us that we need to be more, do more, and be better. Social media has only amplified this pressure with curated images of perfect lives, flawless appearances, and constant achievement. It's easy to believe that our worth is tied to these external measures of success, but this is an illusion. The truth is, no amount of outward success, no amount of praise or recognition can ever truly fill the void that comes from a lack of self-worth. External validation may provide temporary boosts to our confidence, but it's never enough to sustain us in the long term. It's like trying to fill a well with water that has no bottom. We pour in approval, admiration, and validation, but the well never fills up, and we are left feeling empty once more. On the other hand, when we learn to value ourselves, regardless of what others think, we begin to tap into a wellspring of inner strength and peace. When we don't need others to validate us, we are free to pursue what truly makes us happy, to make choices based on our own desires and values, not on what will get us the most approval. We are no longer bound by the opinions of others, and as a result, we can begin to live authentically without the constant fear of judgment or rejection. Learning to build self-worth from within also means developing self-compassion. It means treating ourselves with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that we would offer to a close friend or loved one. When we make a mistake, instead of berating ourselves or feeling inadequate, we recognize that we are human, that everyone makes mistakes, and that this does not diminish our value. We learn to be gentle with ourselves, to offer ourselves grace, and to understand that our worth is not tied to our performance or perfection. This process requires self-awareness. It means becoming aware of the negative self-talk that runs in our heads, the voices that tell us we're not good enough, that we need to do more to be worthy of love or success. These thoughts are not truths, they are just stories we've learned to believe. When we catch ourselves thinking negatively, we have the power to challenge those thoughts and replace them with affirmations of our inherent worth. Over time, this practice can change the way we see ourselves, shifting our perspective from one of self-criticism to one of self-acceptance. Another important aspect of building self-worth is setting healthy boundaries. When we value ourselves, we are less likely to tolerate behavior from others that is disrespectful, hurtful, or demeaning. We know that we deserve to be treated with kindness, dignity, and respect, and we are willing to stand up for ourselves when others cross those boundaries. We no longer allow others to dictate how we should feel about ourselves. Instead, we take ownership of our emotions and our self-esteem, protecting our inner peace and well-being. Self-worth also means embracing our uniqueness. Each of us is different, and that is something to be celebrated. There is no one else like you, and that is your power. The more we embrace our individuality, the more we realize that we don't need to fit into anyone else's mold. We don't need to be like anyone else. We don't need to live up to anyone else's standards. Our value lies in being true to who we are, in showing up authentically in the world and offering our unique gifts and perspectives. When we learn to embrace ourselves fully, we become magnets for the people, opportunities, and experiences that align with our true selves. The most powerful part of building self-worth is that it allows us to live with integrity. When we know our worth, we no longer need to compromise our values or principles to gain approval. We make decisions that reflect our true selves, not the versions we think others want us to be. We act with honesty, authenticity, and courage, and we are not afraid to speak our truth or stand up for what we believe in. This sense of inner strength and alignment is the foundation of a life well lived. As we begin to internalize our self-worth, we stop seeking validation from the outside world. We no longer measure our success by how others see us, but by how we see ourselves. We become less concerned with the opinions of others and more focused on living in alignment with our own values, dreams, and aspirations. We learn to trust ourselves, to listen to our inner voice, and to make choices that honor who we truly are. And in doing so, we create a life that is grounded in authenticity, self-respect, and genuine happiness. True connections are built on mutual understanding, respect, and shared values. They are not based on obligation, convenience, or the need to prove one's worth. In a world where it can sometimes feel like we are constantly striving for approval, the idea that a connection should be mutual can be a revolutionary one. True relationships, whether they are friendships, family bonds, or romantic connections, can only flourish when both parties choose each other freely and willingly. This concept goes beyond superficial interactions or transactional relationships. It taps into the essence of what it means to connect with another human being at a deeper level. One of the most difficult truths we must confront is that we cannot make anyone choose us. No matter how much we care for someone or how much effort we put into a relationship, the decision to engage in that relationship must come from the other person. If we force or manipulate someone into choosing us, we are not engaging in a healthy connection, we are creating an imbalance. A relationship built on force or manipulation lacks the foundation of true partnership, where both people bring their whole selves into the connection. It becomes a transaction, one where one person is giving and the other is taking, without a sense of shared commitment or mutual growth. When we force someone to choose us, we take away their agency, their ability to make their own decisions freely. We impose our desires and expectations on them, and this can create resentment and dissatisfaction in the long run. People need to feel that they have the power to decide who they want to spend time with, who they want to invest in, and who they want to love. If that choice is made out of obligation or pressure, it is not a choice at all. True connection is a two-way street. Both people must willingly engage with open hearts and minds. If one person is constantly pursuing the other while the other is indifferent, the connection will not be genuine. It will feel forced, strained, and ultimately unfulfilling. This doesn't mean that relationships require equal effort from both parties at all times, but rather that both individuals are willing to invest in the relationship. There will be moments when one person needs more support and the other steps up to offer it, and vice versa. The beauty of a true connection is in the ebb and flow of give and take, the understanding that both people are choosing to be part of the relationship because they value and respect one another. A relationship where only one person is doing the choosing or only one person is invested will eventually collapse because it lacks the balance that makes a partnership work. It's important to understand that we are not meant to be everything to everyone. Not everyone will choose us, and that's okay. It's natural to feel disappointed or hurt when someone we care about doesn't reciprocate our feelings, but the truth is that people are allowed to have their own preferences, their own desires, and their own boundaries. We cannot force someone to like us, to love us, or to value us in the same way that we do. Just as we are entitled to our own feelings, so is everyone else. And that's where mutual respect comes in. We must respect others' decisions, even if they don't align with our own. The beauty of true connection is that it comes without force. It flows naturally, built on a foundation of trust, understanding, and shared experiences. These are the kinds of relationships that sustain us, that nourish our souls, and that support us through life's ups and downs. The connections that come without force are the ones where both individuals choose to be in each other's lives because they want to, not because they feel pressured to do so. When we stop forcing relationships, we allow ourselves to open up to new possibilities. We stop trying to mold ourselves into what we think others want or need, and instead we allow our authentic selves to shine through. We stop chasing after people who don't reciprocate our energy and begin to focus on those who appreciate and value us for who we truly are. This shift in mindset is liberating. It frees us from the constant need to perform, to please, or to prove ourselves. It allows us to move through the world with a sense of inner peace, knowing that the right people will choose us based on who we are, not on who we try to be for them. One of the most profound things that happen when we stop forcing others to choose us is that we begin to attract the relationships we deserve. We begin to magnetize people who resonate with our true essence, people who value us for the unique individuals we are. These relationships are grounded in authenticity and mutual respect. They are not born out of desperation or need, but out of a genuine connection between two people who choose each other freely. When both people feel free to be themselves, without fear of rejection or judgment, the relationship has the space to thrive. Of course, it's easier said than done to let go of the urge to force someone to choose us. Human nature often makes us want to seek validation and approval from others. But when we release the need for that validation, we open ourselves to deeper, more meaningful connections. We allow ourselves to be loved for who we truly are, not for who we think we need to be to earn someone's affection. And that is where the magic lies. When we let go of the need to force, we create the space for real, honest, and enriching relationships to blossom. Rejection is one of the most challenging experiences that we all encounter at some point in life. Whether it comes in the form of a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, or the dismissal of our ideas and efforts, rejection can feel deeply personal. It can shake our confidence, make us question our worth, and leave us wondering what went wrong. But it's important to understand that rejection is not a reflection of our inherent value. Rather, it is simply a part of life, a signal that not everything or everyone is meant for us, and that is okay. When we face rejection, we often internalize it as a sign of our inadequacy. We tell ourselves that we are not good enough, not smart enough, or not worthy enough of what we were hoping for. This internal dialogue can be destructive, as it diminishes our sense of self-worth and makes us question our abilities and qualities. But the reality is that rejection is often not about us at all. It's more about timing, compatibility, and circumstance. Just because someone or something does not choose us doesn't mean we are any less deserving or valuable. Take, for example, a relationship. If someone walks away from us or chooses not to engage, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that it's because we are unworthy of love or affection. We may begin to analyze every little thing we did or said, overthinking our every action, looking for clues or reasons that could explain why we were not chosen. But the truth is, the other person's decision may have very little to do with us. It may be influenced by their own issues, desires, or circumstances that have nothing to do with our worth. Perhaps they weren't ready for a relationship or simply weren't looking for someone with our particular qualities. It's important to remember that their choice is not a reflection of who we are, but a reflection of what they are currently seeking or what they are capable of giving. Rejection can also come in the form of professional setbacks. Maybe you applied for your dream job or pitched a brilliant idea only to be turned down. It's natural to feel discouraged, to wonder why your efforts weren't enough, and to question what went wrong. But the reality is that rejection in the professional world is often not about our abilities or talents, it's about fit. It could be that the company is looking for a different skill set, or that the timing simply wasn't right. It's not a sign of failure, it's a sign that the opportunity wasn't aligned with where you are in your journey at that moment. Rejection can be a powerful reminder that the right opportunity will come at the right time, and it is often in those moments of rejection that we are steered towards something better, something that truly matches our strengths and aspirations. The same principle applies to creative work or artistic endeavors. If your writing, art, or any form of creative expression is rejected or goes unnoticed, it's easy to take it personally and feel as though your work isn't worthy. However, creativity is subjective. What resonates with one person may not resonate with another. Just because a piece of work doesn't find immediate acceptance doesn't mean it lacks value. It simply means that the right audience has not yet encountered it. Every rejection can be seen as a stepping stone, an opportunity to refine and grow, to improve and evolve in your craft. Some of the most successful artists, writers, and creators faced rejection multiple times before they achieved recognition. Rejection in these cases is not a reflection of your talent or potential, it's simply part of the process of finding your voice and your audience. When we experience rejection, it's important to recognize that it doesn't diminish our worth or potential. We must separate our self-worth from external validation. If we tie our value to whether others accept or choose us, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Because not everyone will choose us, and not every opportunity will align with our vision. Rejection is not personal, it's circumstantial. It's an external event that is often driven by factors beyond our control. When we internalize rejection as a reflection of our worth, we risk losing sight of who we truly are and what we are capable of achieving. One of the most empowering realizations in the face of rejection is that we have the ability to choose our response. We can choose to see rejection as a lesson, a gift that teaches us resilience, patience, and self-awareness. Every rejection is an opportunity to grow, to learn more about ourselves, and to refine our approach. It's an invitation to look inward and ask, what can I learn from this? What is this teaching me about myself, my goals, and my journey? Rejection is not the end, it's merely a redirection, a detour that guides us to a path that is better suited for us. In many ways, rejection is a tool for self-discovery. It helps us clarify our values, strengthen our resilience, and develop a deeper sense of self-awareness. It teaches us not to take things personally and to understand that the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences will come when they are meant to. Rejection encourages us to trust in the process, to trust in ourselves, and to believe that we are worthy of all the good things that are on their way to us. Ultimately, rejection is a part of life that no one can avoid, but how we handle it is what truly matters. When we learn to separate rejection from our sense of self-worth, we empower ourselves to keep moving forward with confidence and grace. We can acknowledge the disappointment, learn from the experience, and then let it go. We can choose to focus on the many possibilities that lie ahead, knowing that every no brings us closer to the right yes. Rejection is not a final judgment, it's simply part of the journey, and how we respond to it will determine how we grow and evolve along the way. Letting go is one of the most difficult yet transformative actions we can take in our lives. It requires a deep level of self-awareness, emotional maturity, and courage to release things that no longer serve us, even when they once seemed vital. Whether it's a relationship, a job, a habit, or a belief system, holding on to what doesn't serve us can hinder our growth and keep us stuck in a cycle of dissatisfaction and unfulfillment. Letting go is not about giving up or resigning ourselves to defeat. It's about making the conscious decision to release what's holding us back so that we can create space for what truly aligns with who we are becoming. One of the most challenging things to let go of is often the people in our lives who no longer contribute to our well-being. We may have deep emotional attachments to them, built over time through shared experiences, love, or history. But not all relationships are meant to last forever. People change, situations evolve, and sometimes we outgrow the connections that once seemed integral to our happiness. It can feel devastating to walk away from someone you once believed you would always be close to, but staying in relationships that are toxic, draining, or unfulfilling only continues to deplete your energy. Holding on to relationships that no longer nurture you is a way of denying your own growth and potential. When we let go of people who no longer serve us, it doesn't mean that we stop caring about them or that we stop loving them. It means that we are acknowledging that our paths are no longer aligned and that staying in that connection may be causing more harm than good. This is often a painful realization, as it requires us to confront the truth of our feelings and the reality of the relationship. But the act of letting go is a powerful one. It is an affirmation of our self-worth and our commitment to creating a life that supports our emotional, mental, and physical health. We release the expectation that someone else needs to change in order for us to be happy, and instead we focus on what we can control, our own choices. Letting go also applies to situations and circumstances that no longer serve us. This can be especially challenging when we've invested time, energy, or resources into something that we thought would bring us fulfillment. For example, a job that once inspired us might start to feel draining, a dream that once seemed attainable might no longer feel meaningful, or a goal that once felt aligned might no longer resonate with who we are becoming. It's easy to hold on to these things because we've already invested so much. We might feel like we've already come too far to turn back or that it's too late to change direction. But the truth is, holding on to something that isn't fulfilling or authentic to us can keep us stuck in a state of dissatisfaction, preventing us from pursuing what truly aligns with our passions and purpose. Letting go of a career, a project, or a dream that no longer serves us is not an admission of failure, it's an act of self-honoring. It's a recognition that we deserve to spend our time and energy on things that bring us joy, growth, and fulfillment. It's about acknowledging that we are evolving and that our goals and aspirations may evolve with us. Letting go, in this sense, becomes an opportunity to realign with our true desires and pursue new paths that feel more authentic and aligned with who we are at this point in our lives. This can open up space for new opportunities, new dreams, and new directions that we might not have been able to explore if we continue to hold on to something that was no longer serving us. Letting go of these beliefs requires us to challenge our own thoughts and perceptions, to question the stories we've been telling ourselves. It means breaking free from the narratives that hold us back and replacing them with new, empowering beliefs that support our growth and well-being. This process isn't always easy, as these beliefs are often deeply ingrained in our subconscious. But with intention and self-awareness, we can begin to identify the thoughts and beliefs that no longer serve us and make a conscious decision to let them go. This allows us to create space for healthier, more empowering beliefs that will propel us forward in our lives. Letting go also involves forgiving ourselves and others. Holding on to grudges, resentment, or guilt can weigh us down and keep us tethered to past pain and hurt. We may feel justified in holding on to these feelings, believing that they protect us or that they are deserved. But in reality, they only keep us stuck in the past, unable to move forward. Forgiveness is a powerful act of letting go. It is a choice to release the negative emotions that keep us tied to the past and make room for healing and growth. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or forgetting the pain. It means choosing to release the hold that those emotions have on us so that we can free ourselves to live in the present moment. Ultimately, letting go is an act of liberation. It is about releasing the things, people, and beliefs that no longer serve our highest good and making space for new possibilities, new growth, and new experiences. Letting go allows us to release the weight of the past, to step into the fullness of who we are, and to embrace the future with open arms. It's a continuous practice, one that requires courage, trust, and a deep understanding that by letting go, we are making room for something greater. It's not always easy, but it is always necessary for our growth and evolution. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength and self-love. We often find ourselves navigating through life with a deep desire for validation, seeking approval from others in a way that can become consuming. The need to feel seen, heard, and appreciated is natural. We all crave recognition and acknowledgement for the effort we put into our work, our relationships, and our lives. However, when we place too much importance on external validation, we risk losing sight of our own worth and becoming dependent on the opinions and judgments of others. It's important to realize that our value does not lie in how others perceive us. True self-worth comes from within, and it's only when we cultivate a deep sense of self-respect and acceptance that we can truly thrive. The quest for external validation often starts early in life. From a young age, we are taught to seek approval from those around us, our parents, teachers, peers, and society at large. We are often conditioned to measure our success by external standards such as grades, achievements, appearances, or social status. While it's not inherently wrong to seek recognition for our accomplishments, the problem arises when we start defining ourselves solely based on how others perceive us. We begin to attach our self-worth to these external factors, believing that our value is determined by how well we meet the expectations set by others. This dependence on external validation can lead to a constant cycle of seeking approval, and it can feel like we're never quite enough. We might overexert ourselves in an attempt to gain the recognition we think we deserve, putting in more effort than is sustainable or healthy. This can create a feeling of exhaustion, burnout, and dissatisfaction. When we seek validation externally, we become vulnerable to the whims of others. We rely on their approval to feel good about ourselves, and when that approval is not forthcoming, we feel diminished. We start to question our worth, our abilities, and our value as individuals. The challenge lies in breaking free from this cycle. We need to recognize that external validation is fleeting and often unreliable. The opinions of others are shaped by their own experiences, biases, and perspectives, and they may not always reflect our true qualities or the value we bring to the world. People's judgments can be influenced by their moods, circumstances, or personal agendas, and we cannot control how they perceive us. If we place our self-worth in the hands of others, we leave our sense of value at the mercy of their ever-changing opinions. true self-worth comes from an internal sense of self-respect and confidence. It is not based on how others see us, but on how we see ourselves. When we build a strong sense of self-worth from within, we no longer rely on the approval of others to feel validated. We begin to trust our own judgment, our own abilities, and our own worth. We recognize that we are valuable simply because we exist, not because we conform to someone else's idea of success or beauty. This shift in perspective is liberating because it frees us from the constant need for external approval. We stop seeking validation from others and begin to embrace ourselves for who we truly are. Building self-worth requires self-awareness and a commitment to personal growth. It involves acknowledging our strengths and talents, recognizing our achievements, and accepting our imperfections. It means treating ourselves with kindness and compassion, and not allowing self-criticism or negative self-talk to define us. When we embrace ourselves fully, we begin to realize that we don't need anyone's approval to feel good about who we are. We trust ourselves enough to make decisions based on our own values rather than on what others expect or want from us. One of the most important aspects of cultivating self-worth is learning to set boundaries. When we are constantly seeking validation from others, we often neglect our own needs in favor of pleasing others or gaining their approval. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. It is a way of honoring our own needs and protecting our energy. It is about saying no when something doesn't feel right and standing firm in our decisions, even if they are not popular or understood by others. By setting healthy boundaries, we take control of our own lives and reinforce the idea that our value is not dependent on the approval of others. Another key element of self-worth is the ability to embrace failure and imperfection. Many of us fear failure because we believe it diminishes our worth. We worry that if we fail, others will see us as inadequate or incapable. However, failure is not a reflection of our value, it is simply a part of the learning process. When we view failure as an opportunity to grow, rather than as a sign of inadequacy, we free ourselves from the need for external validation. We stop seeking perfection and start embracing progress, knowing that we are always evolving and growing. The journey to building self-worth is not always easy. It requires patience, self-reflection, and a willingness to let go of the need for external validation. But the rewards are profound. When we cultivate a deep sense of self-respect and self-love, we become more resilient in the face of challenges. We are no longer dependent on the opinions of others to feel good about ourselves. Instead, we trust ourselves and our abilities, knowing that we are worthy of success, love, and happiness simply because we are authentic and true to who we are. Ultimately, the key to living a fulfilling and empowered life is to stop seeking validation from others and to start validating ourselves. We must learn to recognize our own worth independent of what others think or say. When we cultivate self-worth from within, we unlock the ability to live confidently and authentically, free from the need for constant approval. This inner strength allows us to pursue our goals with passion and conviction, knowing that we are enough exactly as we are.